So, next up, we have our first panel of the day. It's going to be about energy. The title is How Smart Energy Can Deliver a Great Customer Experience. And we already heard yesterday a lot about sort of integration into the energy system can add to the value stack of a CPO and also an EMP. So I'm very much looking forward to welcoming Markus Hackmann, who is Managing Director at P3 and host of our panel. Guten Morgen.
Good morning. Yeah, very happy to see most of you after an exhausting night at the ICNC. As ever, Markus Hackmann, P3. I'm very happy to discuss about the energy system today. Why did we choose this topic together with Christian? It's because I think charging as a next generation is smart energy, and therefore we need to know what is the system about. And for me, it was a great experience to write a white paper for Robert Habeck with different industries. And it was, of course, exhausting because there were so many opinions in the room, and every opinion, of course, is right. And we have to bring all of these together. And that was the reason why I said, okay, I think smart energy is a very important topic for all of us. And thanks to Christian, we have the opportunity to discuss this topic. First of all, because it's not about charging only, it's about energy. So what is the typical picture we have? And therefore we created a new recipe. So first of all, we have the energy industry, and the whole cake, 100% is traditional energy industry. Now the automotive industry with all the EVs is joining this electricity sector market. And they want to have, of course, a slice of the pie. And next level is then we have the energy integrators. So many of these integrators are coming to the market, and it's a kind of revolution. And all of these players have great knowledge and want to be part of this ecosystem. So, who will get the biggest slice of the pie? Everybody is rushing for it. Or, as we did in the paper for Robert Habeck, is collaboration the best way for a smarter and more sustainability future? As I'm an engineer, of course, not every slide could be that easy as the slide before. If you see this picture, the transition from traditional power grids to a smart energy ecosystem requires a lot of optimization on the small assets we have, and to bring all of these efficient together to have a great data exchange. So we talk about uptime, about reliability. This is a very, very complicated system, and it's key to bring all of these together, to have a great interoperability between all of these energy devices, and therefore we need many brains that this will be successful. If we then have a look at the customer side, with local bidirectional charging, we have a higher self-consumption. We can save energy in another way, and vehicle-to-grid integration can generate additional earnings for the customer. So first of all, and this is today, we have controlled or intelligent smart charging. Therefore, you can save up to 200 euros, and you can increase the self-consumption around 30%. Next step is bidirectional charging at home, behind the meter. And due to the fact that I had many presentations about my own vehicle-to-home system, and I was asked at this conference more than 10 times, Markus, what's about your solution at home? And it's more or less a running gag, because since November, I have the E3DC system working, at my home with a PV stationary battery, energy management system, and I have a car. It's a VW car because that's working normally perfectly with the E3DC system, but I needed a software update. Wow, software update, automotive industry, yeah. Some can do this better than others, so I was waiting 10 months for this software update. It was very, very complicated to get it. And since 3 days, I have the software update. Since 3 days, I do bidirectional charging at home. So energy between 6 and 10 kilowatt hours is shifted during the night to my stationary battery. Now I'm very happy, as you can see here, and I can answer more questions about it because I think it's very important to live where you live for and to be ahead of it if you talk about these topics. And the earnings or the savings, in our opinion, could be around 400 euros and 80% increase of self-consumption. And this is already working at my home. So before at 3 or 4 o'clock, the stationary battery was empty. Now it's not a problem, and the shift mode is working quite well. And this could be a very good opportunity to the customers, because our next step is vehicle-to-grid integration. And this is, of course, very, very interesting for all of us, because we have a saving for the customer of 200 euros, and we have earnings of 400 euros, so 600 euros in total. And this could be very, very good for the customer and hopefully a game changer. But we have some requirements for all of these industries, and we have to fulfill all of the specifications. And that's one thing we want to talk about in the smart energy ecosystem. If it is possible to do vehicle to grid from 2025, 26, I would say, for the customer. Last slide of my short presentation. I think it's worth to have a look to China. While we have many actors fight for their piece of cake, as I've shown in the beginning, but China improves its dominant position in the most markets related also to smart energy. If we see at the fair, many Chinese companies are also at the ICNC, and we can learn quite a lot of these different players. And if you see the different brands here, some of these brands are also at the ICNC. And if we then have a look at the stationary, at the solar and the automotive industry, you see there's a big slice of the cake for China. And hopefully we learn from these players and we bring our strengths together to deliver the customer a perfect ecosystem, European ecosystem, also so that not the whole market is Chinese dominated in the future. This was my short introduction. Now I want to show you who will be on the page, on the stage, and what is it all about. So we have the automotive industry, which is enabling this ecosystem by building electric cars. We have the smart energy integrators, and they aggregate and control smart energy devices remotely so that all of these devices are still together. And we have the energy industry, which offers products and services which has to be secure and cost-effective power supply for all of the customers. And I'm very happy to have 3 experts with me on the stage. First of all, I want to introduce Frank Spennemann from Mercedes. Frank is working in the energy ecosystem since many, many years from the automotive side, and is, in my opinion, one of the best experts to bring energy and automotive industry together. So thanks to have you here, Frank, and applause. Second of all, we have Jürgen Stein talking for the energy industry from EnBW. Jürgen is in this ecosystem also since many years. He's doing the fast charging activities at EnBW, which is one of the benchmarks in the industry actually. And I asked Jürgen if he can also talk about this smart energy ecosystem for us, because I think we can learn quite a lot from the fast charging activities in the smart energy sector. And last but not least, applause, sorry. Thanks, Jürgen, that you're here. Last but not least, we have Merlin Lauenburg from Tibber. He's talking about the integrators we have in the market, actually. And also, I can think, Merlin, we can learn quite a lot of this new industry for most of us, and how this industry works, and how can we, climb over these obstacles we have in the market. Thanks that you're here. Perfect. Very nice to have a seat here. Very nice that all of you are here. So, Frank, first question for you. I talked about your long year experience in the automotive and energy sector. And the first question is, how can we use this flexibility delivered by the car battery for our different business cases in this ecosystem?
Thanks, Markus. Great to be here and to discuss this exciting topic together with you. I think if we look on the energy system as such, in the beginning, we see the great transition towards renewables. We see a great need for flexibility, and flexibility means batteries. And we as automotive industry, we deliver in the end batteries on wheels, with the advantage that the customer just buys a car and not a battery, so the battery comes more or less for free. And these batteries can have a large impact in the system. If you look at the German energy system, the maximum load is around about 70 gigawatt, 70 to 80 I learned from Merlin this morning. And this is just 7 million cars connected to the grid with 11 kilowatt, which means 7 million cars can take the full load of Germany if they are connected and bidirectional. So there's a huge impact, and the cars can have a huge impact in balancing this system, which needs flexibility on the first hand. And as we all know, the cars will be bidirectional in future, so that system will be there. The automotive industry will contribute. If we look a little bit in smaller systems like houses, you already mentioned your house, we clearly see it the same way as you. The car is a great extension of a small home storage, so you can save your home energy, or you can increase your self-consumption a lot by adding the car to the system. And there's a huge potential to do trading, which means, again, supporting the energy system by taking excess energy in the car, which is cheap. You buy cheap energy, and providing energy back to the grid when energy is scarce and expensive. So you sell back energy to the grid. That generates a lot of money. You mentioned the 400 euros. There are other numbers in the room, but in total, it's a significant monetary contribution by the customer to really earn some money by providing that car to the system. And I think there's a great potential. There's some work to be done to unlock the potential. We need a lot to do in the area of regulatory framework, where we are all together working on. We need smart meters in Germany, which is a huge issue. And we have some interoperability topics, but I think we are on a clear way, and there's a huge potential for the system and for the customers by the cars.
Yeah, thank you for this great start and for the possibility you see. Jürgen, what's your opinion on this flexibility topic?
I think we are at the very beginning of that journey. We have to be aware of that. I mean, as you explained, you waited 10 months, 11 months, I don't know, for the software, and you're the expert. You brought that together, and I would say more than 90% of the people are not that enthusiastic as we are in trying to build something there. So we are at the very beginning. What is a big advantage for the customer? And just go back a little bit, it sounds so familiar already, but we are now bringing more or less one energy to everything. Electricity to home, electricity to vehicle, to transportation, and so on and so on. That's the biggest advantage for the customer, that the customer can be part of all the different steps.
Yeah.
Produce PV, storage at home, storage in car, and with that, the advantage is they can optimize their consumption. And they can balance that on a low level, on an island, more or less, at home. That's the biggest advantage. The second biggest advantage is that with that, they can optimize the tariffs based on their behavior. And with that, they can save money. As we have seen before, cost for charging, public charging from E.ON was simply the number one for customers. So reduce the cost that comes with it sooner or later. And I would say this we have to make it not as a project as you did, which took time and was a kind of annoying, I guess, in between. It has to be a standard for everybody, where you simply can plug and play and then it's functioning. And with that, you can be part of that energy transition. We all talk about transformation since years and the next years. Everybody can be part of that, active part of that, and not just passive sitting there and waiting if someone is reducing costs. That's, for me, the biggest advantage.
Yeah.
With bringing different industries,
Together.
like automotive, maybe also transportation later on for bigger cars, but home energy, that's the biggest advantage.
Yeah. Thank you, Jürgen. Merlin, from your position, you're more or less a startup guy, as we can see. How can we accelerate all of these? Because I think you don't need 10 months for a software update, I guess. And what is your opinion on this?
So yes, I very much agree with the points that Frank and Jürgen made previously. Maybe just a couple of quick words about Tibber, because probably not everybody is familiar with Tibber yet. We are a digital green energy company, and we have a dynamic tariff, and we combine that with the Tibber app, which is basically the heart piece of our offering that allows our customers to consume energy at the times when it's cheap, and then also usually there's a quite high mix of renewable in the mix. And with that, like Jürgen said, we allow our customers to play an active part in the energy transition, right? And what do we need to make that successful? I think one of the very big things we need to do is we need to catch people's interest for their energy consumption again. We come from a time when people got an energy tariff and wouldn't switch or wouldn't look at it for decades. More than 50% of people in Germany still have never changed their energy contract. And of course that now changes, right, with the energy crisis that we had, but also with the growing electrification. And that is of course doing some part of the work, but then also we need to make, looking at your energy consumption and optimizing your energy consumption and smart energy intuitive and engaging for people to actually make it worthwhile for people to spend time on it, next to, of course, the very obvious money-saving potential that it bears.
Yeah, thank you very much, Merlin. Next question is also for you, because you started just talking about it. What are, in your opinion, the biggest success factors for integrators to sell that many energy contracts? And I think for all of us, it's interesting to have your European story. You are very successful in Norway. What is it? What is Norway doing different? And how does it work that easy with battery electric cars and also with smart energy? I think that's very important for us as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like you said, Markus, our roots are Norway and Sweden, and I think there I would actually start with the external factors that help with the rise of smart energy. I guess the most important external factor is, like Frank already said, the metering infrastructure. So when you look at the countries where smart energy is already a big thing, like Norway, like Sweden, but also like the UK. Those are all countries where you have up to 100% smart meter coverage. And then that also, of course, allows companies like Tibber to become second largest energy provider in Norway, one of the top 5 in Sweden, because the smart meter is, of course, the basis for billing your customers hourly and for them to monetarily benefit from shifting their consumption. Another important external factor is also quite obvious, but I will nonetheless mention it, the degree of electrification in an economy, right? In the Nordics, again, you have a very high degree of electrification in heating, right? Everybody's using heat pumps, but also in e-mobility. So in Norway, more than 90% of all new cars that are sold are EVs. And that is, of course, then a great basis for using smart energy, because when you have these large consumption devices, these steerable devices, you have the highest potential for savings also as a customer, right?
Yeah.
And then what can we as integrators do, right? So compatibility is a big one, obviously. We need to have the right integrations, the right wall boxes, EV integrations that automate that smart consumption. And for some markets, that is, of course, a little bit different than for others. So, for example, Germany, if you want to get EV rights, if you want to get the EVs right, you can't just have all the best EV or wallbox integrations, but you also have to make sure that you can cover solar smart charging, so that customers optimize their self-consumption when charging the car. And the other one that I just talked about is making the whole topic a little less technical, a little more fun and intuitive for people, so that you just don't target the techies and the first movers, but at some point you can also bring this to the mainstream.
Yeah, thanks, Merlin. Jürgen, what do you think? What could be success factors and also hurdles if you hear the story of Tibber for the energy industry?
I see Tibber as part of the energy industry.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not that much a competition. It's rather more a collaboration. What they are doing right and well, and what we can learn as the entire industry from that. And Tibber is a success story. Congratulations to that, no doubt on that. So what is for me the key behind is what you started with. You give the customer a chance to see electricity or energy as a high interest product, coming from a low interest or maybe no interest product. As you said, electricity was the most boring thing for the end customer ever.
That's true.
So, and you change it. And you go to the customer and say, that's
Berlin, I would say.
That is, I think, the best Tibber and others did. They went to the customer, put their arms around them and said, look, what I can do for you. I can show you this, that, and so on, and so on, and so on. And with that, the interest at the end customer went up. Excellent. That's the first thing we have to do in the industry at all. And with that, you add transparency. Transparency to look what you consume, why, when, how you can change that behavior and what you can do better and so on. That's the second important thing, that the customer gets a kind of feeling to be part of a driver's seat, as I said. And with that, I think we simply have to continue that in the market where it already works. And you said the Nordics, they have a different structure. We have to see the markets. It's not working similar in Germany, for example. The Nordics have a totally different energy production, lots of water. They can use water for electricity, which is renewable, first thing, and constant flow, second thing. So you don't have the disadvantages of PV and wind. So the structure is a little different in these countries, and with the structure comes then also the adaptation from the end customers. That is much faster than Central Europe, I would say. UK is also a good example, works a little different too. In Germany, it's not working as of today, and it's not just a question of the intelligent meter system. It's a lot of different things, starting from production to the grid, transportation, distribution, and then finally to the household, and with that, to the end customer. But again, great stuff, great work, and we simply have to continue that for the entire industry to make electricity or energy more interesting for the end customers. That's the key if we're just looking on the consumer business. I'm not referring to B2B at the moment. That takes another 20 minutes, so we skip that part.
Thank you very much, Jürgen. Frank, you are also on C-level at Mercedes Energy, and you're in this topic since many years. What do you think? What are the biggest success factors and also the hurdles we have to climb over?
First, of course, I do fully agree that we have to convince the customer to enter in the smart energy contracts and to utilize the flexibility they have at home in a smart way. We just had a conference a few weeks ago in Berlin where we reported on a research project we are doing together with a lot of other players in the industry. And one part was a customer survey. What do the customers think? What do the customers know? And there we found out two main topics. One is education. For the majority of the customers, electricity is still boring, as you mentioned. It's just, it comes out of the plug and you get a monthly bill and that's it, and you don't think about it further. And the second topic is trust. When I give that guy, for example, Tibber or any other smart energy provider, the right to control the charging of my car, will my car be charged when I need it?
Yeah.
Do I have an emergency at midnight and my car is empty and I can't use it? And all these questions come up, and I think there's a lot of education to be done to just convince the customer you don't have any disadvantages in terms of convenience by doing so, but you do have a lot of advantages in terms of monetary benefit, and you do a good thing by really contributing to the energy transition.
Yeah.
And I think this message has to be spread out, and there's a lot to be done in communication and marketing to really win the customers and, as you mentioned, get the customer in a position that they have fun playing around with energy, seeing their contribution for their wallet and for the energy transition. And I think that is the main topic, additional to that, let's say, boundary conditions like smart meter rollout, like regulatory framework, which we need. But that is something where we can really actively work on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. The last question, I will explain a bit more because it's for Jürgen. It's an energy-related question. Jürgen, you talked already about smart meter rollout, and of course, many of you know that we tried to bring this rollout to the customers since 6 or 7 years, but it's too easy to say, okay, this was just delayed by the energy industry, because I've done some interviews with different key players. Because I was feeling not really good with this strong opinion, and to bring a little more engineered, realistic answers in it, I asked some of the experts, and they say, okay, companies like E.ON, BW, and others can easily do the smart meter rollout, but all of the different Stadtwerke in Germany, they will struggling with digitalization, they were struggling with the smart meter rollout, and we have to find an honest solution for all of these players. And therefore, Jürgen, I would like to ask you if we have this opinion, but it's too easy to say it's just delayed because of the piece of cake. What is the role for the traditional energy industry for this new prosumer ecosystem? In your opinion, if you show on all of these different players, if you have a look to the DSOs, of course, because all of these players are needed for a perfect smart energy ecosystem.
How much time do I have?
I know it's a multi-billion question. 2 minutes would be nice because Johanna is also waiting for
the
her
elevator
questions.
speech on energy transmission in Europe. Okay, I'm not sure if I can manage that. So, the traditional energy utility company, we call it utility company, right? Had from energy production and the power plants, and there we have had the old fossil and the nuclear and so on, all the stuff we don't want to have in the future. Then we have the network part, and there we have more or less two different parts. One is the transportation network, which brings the electricity from the wind farms in the north to the south, and we have the distribution network, which is then at the end of the day the smaller one network, which brings it to the households, where we talk about the smart meter rollout at the end of the day. And there we have, by the way, for these distribution networks in Germany, about 800, 900 companies who managing distribution network.
And that's a very great obstacle for smart energy ecosystem, to be honest.
True, but I think we're in Germany and people own that network and so they can operate that. We cannot simply say you should stop that. But we have to deal with it, that there are 800-900 companies on the distribution network. And then of course we have the part where we sell energy B2B or B2C, and with that comes all the services. Let's stay with the B2C part, services around that we offer. Dynamic tariffs. EnBW also offers a dynamic tariff. So the description of Tibber was very similar in that customer area to what the traditional utility companies are doing, E.ON and EnBW and so on, because we provide the same. Different kinds of contracts. We help customers, we offer services, we offer PV installation, we offer batteries, and so on and so on and so on. So to give that entire package to the customer. So that are the different roles the traditional companies had and will have, because we still need power plants. It's not enough that everybody puts PV on the rooftop. That's not working. We need that. And there's a strategy in Germany just recently announced what kind of power plants we need for reserve and so on and so on. There is a network. The grid has to be managed. We are not building islands of households who can live independently. That's not the goal. We have to understand it. It's not the goal to be 100% independent each household. We can do it maybe, but it's very costly. It's very costly. And then there is the customer part. So, and in between we also have two different things. The one is a regulated business. The grid business is regulated business. The Bundesnetzagentur in Germany regulates that, and other governmental bodies in other countries are managing that. And if we come to the smart meter rollout, this has to come from the distribution network, where we have the 800-900 companies sitting there, and that is a regulated business. So it's not the one utility company who failed there, it's the system, the one thing which is rather complicated. The second is, was there really the demand? Normally it works if there is a huge customer demand, but in Germany it's not yet. Apologize, I'm talking quite a lot about Germany. We are not international. EnBW, I'm not the expert to talk international. But that's the way the smart meter rollout on the regulated business, I would say, failed. There's, of course, the competitive smart meter rollout businesses, and there were many, many startups trying to survive in that. And many of them failed because at the end of the day, the customer willingness to pay for unclear services wasn't there to that time. It will come, there's no doubt. It will come, it has to come. It has to come. But I just want to make clear that there is a little different countries and what the roles are we are in.
I mean, Jürgen, thank you very much for this explanation. I mean, you said, okay, that's the reason why we failed, and I think an honest opinion is very important to understand the ecosystem. And Merlin, what is your top wish to succeed in the future? Because you have chosen your own smart meter solution because of what Jürgen said, but what is your next step? Maybe you can, 1 minute, explain this topic.
I'll try to keep it concise. So, as in Germany, we only have less than 1% of smart meter coverage. We at Tibber developed an optical reader that you can put on digital meters. That allows us then to bill our customers hourly, right? It's a bridge technology. The real solution for smart energy are smart meters. But we use that to kind of like bridge the time until we are at the rollout. What we have done now, we have teamed up with many other companies in the smart meter initiative, together with Octopus Energy, Rabot Charge, 1,5, even Lichtblick and others, to push for what we believe are some ideas in terms of how can we optimize the rollout and how can we accelerate it. But in the end, a rollout of smart meters, but also a positive public perception of smart meters is absolutely key to the adoption of smart energy.
Cool. Thank you very much, Marlene. Very interesting. Frank, what do you want to add for the wishes and for the next steps for the automotive industry?
I just want to refer to one point Jürgen made. I think Jürgen a little bit doubted whether there is a customer demand already in Germany. And I think if we look at other markets like UK, we see that the EV adoption of smart tariffs is extremely high because the hurdles to get them are extremely low. There is no need for installation of a smart meter. There's just switch your energy contract and download an app, and then you can start. And I think this is a situation where we have to get to, and therefore we need this smart meter rollout, as this is the main hurdle on the unilateral flexibility side we have to do. And on the other hand, I think we have to prepare the preconditions to roll out bidirectional charging, because the technology will be there in the next years, and we have to make sure that the system is ready as well.
Yeah.
It's of course a little bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? Without smart meters, there's not a lot of awareness about these opportunities. But when people actually have a smart meter and steerable devices, the monetary savings potential is so big that it is quite popular in all markets where that's already possible.
I think we have automotive industry, we want to support you all in getting this smart meter done. We want to give our customers the potential to unlock the value of the battery in the cars. And I think we will find ways to work together there and accelerate this process.
I think just to make it clear, we are on the same page. And we need that smart meter rollout rather sooner than later. There is the regulation change in 2025. It's mandatory that they are installed, and there's a certain time frame and so on. It's getting better. And we are on the same page. And I think it totally helps if now even OEMs start to push on that side and not... I put you somehow in the energy part. Sorry for that. I know you're into
energy contracts, energy part. It's easy.
But nevertheless, it helps. It helps if we are pushing from different angles. Then it helps, and I think that's also a part which the traditional utility companies really can do. We are consulting, of course, the governmental bodies also. How that interferes to the different parts of that energy chain. So therefore, we have that responsibility too. But we are not happy with that, what happened in the last couple of years. We are all not happy.
Thank you very much also for the discussion we have now. But I would like to bring in Johanna, the real moderator of the 2 days. And I am happy now to be a panelist. So welcome, Johanna.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? Yes. There's the first question in the front row. Maybe we can have a mic. Front row.
Yeah. Full of energy now.
Good morning. My name is Sam Alawi, a company called EVIT. I was a little bit shocked about the monetary effect of just 600 euros maximum that I would be able to generate as a user if I plug to the smart meter every day. So that's for me, let's say, less than 2 euros a day. If I look at my overall expenses going to a supermarket, it's really not worth the struggle if I just look at it economically. So that's one point. I don't know why you're also enthusiastic.
Yeah, maybe copying on that also. Is it to do with the price structure in Germany that, I mean, if we just talk about the electricity component of the price that the end consumer pays, it's a small part, right?
So for sure, the actual energy price only makes up around about a third of the overall energy costs, you know, of customer. But what you also have to consider is, it is very difficult to, you know, give these kind of numbers, because your savings potential is extremely dependent on your setup and your consumption, right? It sounds like your savings potential might be significantly higher because you consume a lot of energy and you have possibly a lot of shiftable loads. But here, I guess, an average is being taken.
Yeah, but I mean that was presented to Mr. Habeck, or whatever analysis was done. So I will expect, based on German calculation, it's like a real average, because we don't want to underestimate. Basically, we take real figures. But here, my question in that regard is, if I buy now today one of these fantastic Mercedes-Benz cars that cost 80,000 euro or 100,000 euro, and where the battery part of it is 45,000 euros nowadays, and yesterday we heard that a lot of people are not buying EVs because the price of the EV cars is very high. What is the effect on the deterioration of my asset over the next 4, 5 years, 6 years, plugging every day and helping the German grid to stabilize, which is not really my job, correct? So I'm saving every day €1.70 if I plug every day, and then I'm risking deteriorating my battery over a couple of years. So this is like a rhetoric question. I would like you to
Yeah, I will start, because the numbers are from P3 and it's of course an average. And all of the questions you mentioned, I would say like a 3-hour speech. I will do it maybe in 30 seconds. First of all, there's a potential, let's say, between 500 and 1,000 euro. It depends who is doing the slides. I want to be, it was a 4-person household, very realistic. And it's important to know that you save 50% of your energy bill. So 50% is a huge number, in my opinion, of your whole energy bill. The next question, and we were asked this question very, very often, is what about lifetime of the battery if we have additional cycles? I don't want to say there's no impact, but we have many papers by well-known experts in the battery industry that it is much better to have a lower SOC than 100%. And with bidirectional charging, of course, we have a lower SOC. And also, for example, VW's SOC for bidirectional charging is between 20 and 80%, because they know that's very good for the battery. So all of these aspects has to be taken into account, and I understand the customers if they feel not sure about it, but that's how it is, the state of the art actually. And what's also important, the battery of a car, it's less, for the EQS, for example, it's less than 20,000 euros. It's not 40,000 euros. That's very important, because the battery prices are really much down, and that's very important for the TCO of the electromobility. So I think 40,
maybe
40
one
seconds.
small additional remark to that topic. We do run a stationary storage built out of car batteries since 8 years now, in exactly that V2G operation 24/7. And of course, over the 8 years, we did have some technical defects, but mainly on the electronics. The batteries and the battery capacity is still very good, and there's a huge energy amount went through that batteries in that time. So we don't know exactly how it will be in the V2G case at home. But that stationary storage has showed that the impact on battery degradation is rather low if you have it in the right conditions.
Any more questions from the audience? I would also, yes, please. There's another question on the front row. And one in the back. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the very interesting discussion. I would be interested to understand your opinion on where are we going short, mid, and long term in tariff structures. And maybe to simplify it a bit, let's talk about Germany. Because we are coming from a landscape where we basically just have flat tariffs. Customers are used to that. And I think then dynamic tariffs come in different flavors, right? So you have, for example, as Tipper has it, the full dynamic tariff, which is based on wholesale prices on the market, which puts the risk on the customer actually. And then there are also tariffs which are basically more involving the energy provider again to do some sort of energy trading, take that risk away and maybe give, for example, different times of the day where energy has different prices. So I would like to understand your opinion in the short, mid, and long term in Germany. Where do you see basically the tariff landscape develop?
Yes, I think that's a great question. So first of all, and we already talked about that, the adoption of dynamic tariffs will follow, of course, the smart meter rollout. Although I'm very optimistic and bullish about our future of Tipper, you know, in the German market, of course, we also have to moderate expectations depending on the rollout. But addressing your specific question, I think you're making a very good point, because in Germany we have a little bit of a different mentality than in, for example, the Scandinavian markets, right? In Germany we have the highest number of insurance policies per capita. People are rather risk averse. So I understand also why maybe competitors of Tipper decide to set up a tariff that basically offers a cap on the electricity price, right? Why have we decided not to do that? We have a fully dynamic tariff, and the reason is any cap will, of course, come at a cost, right? It's also an insurance that the price will not pass a certain level, and that then brings additional costs to the tariff overall. And we believe that on average, for example, over a year, you will always go cheaper with a unhedged tariff like ours. And we've actually also seen that in recent history, right? Also in the energy crisis. We did, of course, have very high prices for certain hours of a day on certain days. But when you look at the average for the month or the year, we are still far below the market average with our price that we offer. So it's a little bit of a purist product, you know, of a fully dynamic tariff. We strongly believe in it, but of course, yeah, especially with regards to the German market, there have also been discussions about offering this cap for the, let's say, more risk-averse customers.
Maybe I can add that from the energy industry. And there are different views on that. As more bullish you are on that business model, and this is, the tariffs are kind of business model, and as more you are convinced, as higher the numbers are. What we see as a more traditional industry company or energy company is that from now to the year 2030, even the smart meter rollout will not be comparable to the UK or to the Nordics. We see that there is maybe a smart meter rollout in the range of 30, 40, 50%, not more, rather to the 30%. And this is then the market who can do dynamic pricing, dynamic tariffs. And if that is then a third, we see that only 10% in 2030 is dynamic tariff. So that is the chain, and the smart meter rollout is then not limited because no one is installing it, because it's more or less then regulated. But these are the numbers we see. So we sometimes discuss that dynamic tariffs is coming 50, 70, 80% in the market. And one thing is the risk certainty from the area, from Germany, from the Germans, from us. And the second is what is really then behind it, where the benefits. So I just want to make it very clear on the question what we see long term, 2030, midterm, in that range.
Maybe also an insight from one of our home markets. In Sweden, we have reached a full smart meter rollout already at around 2009, 2010. And there, actually, dynamic tariffs already take the majority of a market. So it can go a bit quicker than one thinks, but of course, yeah, you're bound to the limits of smart meter availability, but also the electrification of mobility and heat and other sectors.
Maybe one additional comment. We, of course, looked at the different energy markets as well, and I fully can confirm what you said. I think we analyzed in the Nordics around 75% of the customers do have that dynamic energy tariffs. Of course, due to the rollout of the smart meters and due to the customer preferences. If we look in the UK, there are a lot of tariffs where you have a cap, so you have a constant kilowatt hour price, and you get a bonus if you do smart charging or if you just provide flexibility to the grid. So that's another option, and I think the market will show what the customer finally chooses. And I hope that Jürgen is wrong, that we are faster with the smart meter rollout and that we distribute the smart meters to the households really needed, where you have the flexibility, where you have the EVs, and then 30% can already cover maybe 80% of the customers who can provide flexibility. I hope that we are a little bit faster than your rather conservative expectations.
So Markus, 2030 ICNC, and then we see what...
Two more quick words on it. As we talked about it in the beginning, we have these external factors, right, that are influencing it, but once you have a smart meter and you have large steerable devices, it just becomes, yeah, more or less a no-brainer because you have significant savings potential.
Yeah, Frank, just because you said grid-friendly, I just mentioned the serving the grid. I just wanted to ask, how important do you guys think the revision of the grid fees in Germany is? So making them dynamic, so actually allowing for EV charging to be grid friendly and not only market friendly. Maybe going one step further. Yeah.
Probably Jürgen also has some interesting insights on that, but I think it's extremely important, right? You already correctly pointed out that currently the energy price only makes up a smaller price of the overall electricity price, right? So maybe like a third. By putting flexibility also to the grid fees, we also have a stronger monetary incentive for customers to shift their consumption in a way that is then favorable for the grid.
I think we do have, of course, large discussions with the grid operators on the topic of grid overload. There are different solutions in the room, like maximum load curves, like flexible dynamic grid tariffs. I think we have to look for a solution which can be fast, and I doubt that our 900 DSOs are capable of introducing flexible grid fees on a short term. So I would say yes, it's a good objective in the midterm future, but this should not be the precondition to start with flexible and bidirectional charging.
Of course, but there's also 2 billion cost, 2 billion euros paid for redispatch every year, and it's only for transmission grid operators. And you can also charge in a way that is supporting the transmission grid. But I think it's going a little bit too deep. Maybe we take the last few minutes. We had 2 more questions in the front row. 3. There's one more.
Yeah.
I'm kindly going to ask for short answers so we actually cover most of those.
Already 2-minute warning.
Yes.
Anthony Wirsch from Zurich, Switzerland. I'm since 1989 a member of standardization of charging, and last few years also for discharging. And I feel like an ambassador for AC charging on board, and because there is no cost for the client, because the OEM does every car equipped with a bidirectional onboard charger, and it's an interesting phenomenon that there are no costs. That's just a more complex process. Maybe you are not agree, but and the Switch did tried out how it works in different areas of the world, and especially in Europe. They say it will bypass the DC charging in about 5 years when the start starts.
So maybe
I think, is it a question or do we wanna? I think it's just a plaidoyer for AC bidirectional charging, yeah? Sounds like. Everybody's taking this into account. There's a great discussion if it is AC, is it is DC, bidirectional charging. I think it's their own conference to talk about it, but both technologies are taking into consideration actually.
But DC has a problem because the client has to spend very expensive.
AC has also many problems. We have worked on this several times, so
Yeah,
that's
okay.
why I said there are different opinions.
yeah, unless the OEM has a
I think I would fully agree to Markus. We can talk an hour about that
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of opinions for both solutions, and I think that would probably
Yeah.
extremely overrun the time we do have available.
Yeah, I decided to make bidirectional to show, and then the ideas disappear, but then is reality.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very, very brief.
Just very brief. You know, we talked about all these OPEX and savings and benefits. How about the CapEx? I mean, you sort of read that wall boxes for bidirectional charging are still above 10,000 euros. So what's the price or cost development that you expect?
Also very quick, because it's not the best question for the industry. We expect 1,200 euros for a bidirectional DC wall box, and actually it's around 3,000 to 4,000 euros. But of course, Gregor, as ever, we need scale to bring the price down, otherwise it will not work.
Great. Thank you so much, Markus. And thanks to the whole panel. We sadly have run out of time. So a warm round of applause for our panel on energy management.
Thank you.
Thanks.